time. Greetings, viewers. Welcome to this episode of the True Patriot podcast. We are discussing our public examinations and those which are handled by the Zimbabwe Schools Examination Council. We want to look at the challenges that are being faced by that particular body. We want to look at the credibility of the examinations and any possible solutions that we can profile. We understand some learners are being completely excluded from the examination process itself. To help us discuss this important issue, an issue of national importance, we have invited the Deputy Secretary General of the Amalgamated Rural Teachers Union of Zimbabwe, Comrade Munyaradzi Masiwa. Comrade Munyaradzi Masiwa, welcome to the True Patriot podcast.
Thank you so much. Greetings viewers, greetings listeners. Thank you so much, True Patriot. Red salute, Comrade Robert, for hosting this important program.
Thanks. Comrade Masiwa, let's quickly jump into it. We just saw you on a video that has gone viral, wherein you were submitting to the public hearing on the ZIMSEC bill with regards to exclusion of some learners from accessing our examinations. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, true. A number of learners are being excluded from writing their final examination when they come to ordinary level. So you will realize that from grade 7, for example, in 2020, we had 300,000 learners who sat for grade 7 examination. So we expected 300,000 learners to sit for O-level examination in 2024, but it was not like that. Almost 42% had dropped out. This was due to a lack of examination fee. They failed to register for ZIMSEC O-level just because they didn't have a registration fee that was being demanded by ZIMSEC. So about 128,000 learners failed to sit for O-level examination, and these learners are on the street doing gold farming just because they failed to raise a registration fee.
That's a big number. We are talking of almost half of the students failing to register for public examinations. The 128,000 out of 300,000, that's a shocking statistic. And now we are looking at what is the amount of the examination fee. Obviously, some of them are lost along the way. They drop out before they get to Form 4 because of fees and other. But how much is being charged as examination fee?
So there are academic subjects which are charged $24 per subject. So a learner who would wish to register for 10 subjects would require $24 times 10, that is 240 USD dollars. So for ZIMSEC examination fee, unlike school fees, ZIMSEC exam fee have got a deadline which has to be met by parents. So if this deadline passes by, it simply means a learner cannot register for that particular year to write examination. So these are exorbitant fees that learners and parents find it difficult to fund.
Because $240, most families are living on less than $1 per day. I think that would be a lot of money, especially in the levels of unemployment in our country for our peasants, among others. But we understand that those in private schools tend to find it more difficult to register. What are the challenges, peculiar challenges for those who are in private schools?
That's very true. I want to bring to your attention that we have got those learners who are in a private school, not because parents decided that these learners must go to these poor private schools. So you will realize that in our community, in our poor community, that is to say, in some rural areas, in some newly developing, new resettlement areas, there are these private schools, but they are poor private schools, which accommodate learners who would have failed to pay fees in public schools, learners who would fail to locate a public school. They are located, for example, in Hawkins. They are very poor public schools, accommodate learners from very poor backgrounds. Now, when it comes to ZIMSEC registration, these schools in houses and the under fees, they don't have the ZIMSEC centers. So they have to look for centers elsewhere. That is in the next school. And they will find it difficult because the next school will charge ZIMSEC center, which ranges from 30 USD upwards. So it is even more difficult. And with the coming in of these projects that are being done by learners, teachers may require more money for these learners to have their project marked at a particular school.
Yeah, it's really a challenge, and I understand the government does not pay subsidies to these private schools. Subsidies are only for government schools, and then we are looking for at learners who already disadvantaged. They fail to get the school uh, to enroll in the school, and now they can't even register with government support. What are unions doing and other stakeholders? Because honestly, we can't normalize the fact that 128,000 potential O-level candidates. I think these numbers can be more if we are looking at those who are failing to write grade 7. Remember, you started with 300,000 who sit for grade 7. I understand some are even failing to sit for grade 7 now because there are some fees associated with it also. What are unions and other stakeholders doing to try to ensure that these excluded learners get a chance in life?
Okay, thank you so much. Indeed, the statistics are higher than that because I can also point out that the statistics that I have given you are only statistics for learners who are in public schools. So there are more learners who are in private schools who fail to write for ordinary and grade 7 examinations. Now, coming to an issue that you have raised concerning unions. Unions are doing an advocacy work. Unions are engaging stakeholders in education.
That was Mr. Masiwa there. We seem to have lost him. We hope he can be able to join us. We are discussing the accessibility of our public examinations in the context of ZIMSEC, the Zimbabwe Schools Examination Council. We hear these problems. We are told that the 300,000 learners that were set for grade 7 examinations around 2020 or so, ordinarily the same class that is supposed to be sitting for examinations for all level this 4 years later, but they only find 128,000 have completely dropped out of the system. So we have a system that is still a bottleneck system that is excluding a majority of our learners. So the conversation is to say, what are the possible solutions, given the context that our Section 75 of the Constitution will provide for the right to education, state-funded basic education for all learners. Welcome back, Mr. Masiwa. You can proceed where you were explaining you were explaining the role that is being played by unions and other stakeholders to ensure that no learner is left behind, to ensure that we accommodate all learners in our examination system.
Okay, thank you so much. So I was about to mention that as Amalgamated Rural Teachers Union of Zimbabwe, we are engaging our communities, bringing to their attention that they can put government to task. They can make the government be accountable for their actions. So, for example, we engage the parents in hope, and they are just asking at least two things from either of the one of the two things that they are asking from the government is that either the government offers the land so that they build their own school for their own learners, because they have realized that it is only their children that are suffering, or the government must simply provide funds or build or construct a secondary school, just one secondary school in Hopley, an area which is resident to about 200,000 residents. So you realize that each and every year there are a lot of learners from Hopley alone that are dropping out because they can't locate a secondary school in their area of residence. So unions are advocating that the government must simply be honest and respect the constitution and make sure that each and every citizen, each and every permanent citizen is afforded an opportunity to education in their local areas where they stay. So we are petitioning the government, we are engaging parents, we continue to put pressure and awareness to citizens in Zimbabwe.
Yeah, thank you so much. That is very helpful. And they gave it viewers also, we need you as citizens to also participate. We can't accept or normalize a situation where 128,000 of our potential candidates fail to sit for ordinary level, which is a foundation course which every citizen must at least have. But Mr. Masiwa, there are more challenges to the examination process beyond the failure by learners to access. We have had issues around the examination leakages. What is the situation right now? What are any improvements that have been done, and what are other areas that can be addressed with regards to examination leakages?
Okay, so there is a very bad attitude that we realize from the part of office bearers, where they want to relegate the blame to the teachers on the shop floor, the blame for exam leakages. When exams leak at admin level, exams don't usually leak at school level. These are rare circumstances where exams leak at school level, but exams leak at admin level. What happens is teachers are not motivated to invigilate examinations. So you see that teachers who invigilate exams, teachers who go through projects for learners, all those teachers are not paid by ZIMSEC. So it's only those teachers who do marking who are being underpaid by ZIMSEC. They are not even paid satisfactory, but they are underpaid. So to solve that problem of exam leakage, ZIMSEC has to change the way these examinations are administered. ZIMSEC has to pay its staff well so that people who are in contact with this ZIMSEC process, with these examination processes, are motivated to do their work diligently, are motivated not to sell paper for a few dollars. So teachers need motivation. Teachers need to be paid well so that everyone in Zimbabwe who is in contact with these examinations changes his attitude because of motivation.
Oh yes, yes, and we've also seen even in digital papers that are still to be printed leaking, which, like we are saying, means at some point they are not even leaking at the school level. But then you also touched on the issue of paying the invigilators. We have also received complaints from those who mark the exams themselves. Year in, year out, or we have issues where people are complaining. What are the challenges in this process of marking and remunerating our examiners? What's going on? I understand you're also an examiner yourself.
That's very true. So examiners are not paid. It's shocking if I tell you that right now some examiners who marked in June are being paid right now. And why are they being paid right now? Is simply because they want these examiners to turn up for December and January marking. So it's the attitude of the state and the attitude of ZIMSEC which is in need of being changed. So what happens also is examiners are invited to mark. There are no contracts that are signed. They are just taken for a ride. They mark papers and they are not paid enough, which compromises again the quality of marking, which compromises again the quality of our examination in Zimbabwe, because you can't imagine papers being marked by someone who is already frustrated, by someone who is thinking of just stopping marking and walk out of the room in frustration.
And now we seem to find our duty bearers not coming up with solutions to these challenges. What would be your comment if someone says maybe those who are duty bound to provide services have since moved their learners from the ZIMSEC examination board to Cambridge, for example? Because I understand some learners in Zimbabwe are still writing Cambridge.
That's very true, and that's the main problem that we are having, because officials who lead the process of policy change and officials who man admin of our ZIMSEC examinations, their children are not enrolled for ZIMSEC examinations, are enrolled for Cambridge examination, which is something which is not very normal when you look at it. You will, if an audit was to be done amongst the officials who lead all these policy changes processes and who administer our ZIMSEC board, it will be shocking. It will be shocking to reveal that maybe more than 90% of these guys have got their children enrolled for Cambridge, not for ZIMSEC. So, as for ZIMSEC, their duty is just to play around it and experiment with learners from poor background who do not have access to write Cambridge examination. So this two-tier system has destroyed our education in a way. So we need to come up with a code of conduct which emphasizes and makes it a policy to say every individual, every person who is at admin level in ZIMSEC issues must have their children learn and sit for ZIMSEC examinations. Just like how selection of STC members is done in schools. You can't be a chairperson at a school where you don't have a child there. So you can only be a chairperson at a school where your children are learning.
Yeah, very important, because you can't run public examinations where you do not want your children to enroll. But now let's also dig deep into this issue of integrity and look at the issue of continuous assessment. How is continuous assessment being run? We've had complaints from parents who say it's a cost burden. They are paying a lot of resources. There are worries that maybe some teachers will end up just awarding marks if they are paid off because due to the poor salaries. There have been a lot of concerns, but you are on the ground in this system. What's your comment on this structure of continuous assessment and possible recommendations?
So when there was an outcry during a competence-based curriculum, an outcry from parents who were calling out for the removal of color, the government sold a gun to parents, and they put a picture of removing this color, but they replaced the color with what they call pageant, which is similar to color. And to tell you, from grade zero, very young learners learners aged 5, 6, they are doing their projects there, which is something very unusual and abnormal up to secondary school. So at secondary level, each subject, a learner has to complete 2 projects for each subject. And for grade 7, each and every subject has got a project, which is time consuming for this.
We seem to have lost Mr. Masiwa there again. We are hopeful that he can rejoin us soon. We are discussing the enhancing the integrity of our examination system, given complaints that have been leveled against the continuous assessment program, wherein others are saying it's not standardized and there is a risk of manipulation of the outcomes by the teachers themselves. Parents have also complained that it's a cost burden. They are paying a lot and they don't seem to see the value. So we want really to understand the state of continuous assessment and then find ways of them to say how can it be improved so that our examination support, our examination system doesn't lose the credibility that we so much desire. We do not want to end up in a scenario where our learners are not admitted in other tertiary institutions because the examination board is said to not be credible. We are also still going to be discussing issues around expenditure in the ZIMSEC board. One of the biggest thing when the resources are limited, you also don't want to see resources being blown on an unnecessary bureaucracy. There are issues then to say also how do we integrate the examination board within the ministry itself so that we can easily monitor the exams, we can plug the leakages, and also we can cut on other unnecessary expenditures. But it is still shocking, and we still have to make a case out of it that we have 128,000 learners out of a possible 300,000 who are going to fail to sit for ordinary level this year. So this is something that we still have to deal with as a nation. We can't just normalize such an abnormality. So if I have to find solutions, we have to demand that even though the registration dates are passed, we still have to deal with this issue and ensure that every learner is afforded the right to write examinations. We can't allow a situation where almost 50% of the learner population fails to sit for examinations for failing to pay fees, because education is a right as defined in Section 75 of the Constitution of the Republic. And it is the collective duty of everyone to defend that right, because from ECD to ordinary level, that is still basic education according to our Education Act, and we can't allow the government of Emerson Mnangagwa to deny the sons and daughters of peasants, the sons and daughters of the working people, access to education. We understand that education can empower people to really transform their lives. It has been a tool for social mobility. Government officials who are in charge of our education system to date, some of them are beneficiaries of state-funded education, free education at times, and some of them benefited from an education that was sponsored by the settler regime before independence. So if a settler regime was able to disburse enough funds to get everyone accommodated in the education system, although they would then use a bottleneck system through legal frameworks, but at least people would go through the education system, the state supporting, and the best brains would get their bursaries. And these are the people who are now in government. They are denying other people that opportunity, an opportunity they were given by a colonial system, by the black government, our own government, which is led by our liberators who promised us an egalitarian society, shamefully denying our children education, and we have to make maize about it. We have to put an end to it. It is not only and education doesn't only benefit those particular learners, it also benefit the republic. Some of these learners whom we are excluding from accessing education are supposed to be the future medical doctors of this republic. They are our inventors who are supposed to be leading us in the digital transformation era. But we are denying them an opportunity to grow, to sharpen their minds, to gain more skills and knowledge so that they can be better access to our public. So we are waiting for Comrade Masiwa to join us to discuss these and other issues, and we see that he is still struggling with his network. But we can want to promise you as viewers that we will have a follow-up program on this one. In our next, we will pick another podcast to comprehensively discuss this issue of access to education. We urge communities out there to organize themselves, like what we are seeing a community in Hopley, which is organizing itself today to demand right to education. Hopefully, according to ILO and the other organizations like Action Aid, we have a population of around 200,000 residents, but that whole community has no school. The sons and daughters of the people in Hopeley have to walk to Glenora or try to have a commuter to walk to waterfalls to Glenora. Most of them do not get places there. They are denied because the schools are already congested that side. So you can imagine that they do not have an individual secondary school. And when you see those young sex workers in Harare, majority of them, they're coming from Hopley. And then we blame Hopley. We look at it as some form of data, but these are people who are hardworking with potential not only to change their own lives, but they can also change the republic. And the worst part about the Hopley story is that initially these people were living around the Churu farm area. They were living okay, but in 1999, towards the Commonwealth heads of government meetings, they were removed from that particular community. They were viewed as dirty, and they had to be removed around town, from close to the CBD from Harare, and they were pushed to Potter Farm, where again they settled. And when they got to Potter Farm, they worked so hard and built their own schools. They built their own secondary school, their own primary schools, their clinics with the help of NGOs, of non-governmental organizations. But the same government that had displaced them from Churu Farm followed them to Potter Farm. Initially, the government attempted to evict them in 1995 and failed. They had a court order. In 2004, they attempted to evict them, and again, they failed. The courts blocked that. But in 2005, from 28 June to 30 June, the government managed to deploy bulldozers to raise down all the homes, all the infrastructure in that particular area. So all the schools were reduced to rubble, all the clinics were reduced to rubble, the homes were reduced to rubble. And they were promised that we are going to give you more residential stands in Hopley. And there were no proper residential states. They've been there since 2005 to date, but government has failed to build them a school. And this is a community that is now asking government to say, can you at least give us land so that we build our own school? But the government can't provide that. We understand that government want to use education as a tool for manipulation. But unfortunately, if they want to manipulate people through education, they should at least provide it. But they are failing to provide this service. They were seeing government looking up to business to build private schools, but business is not interested in building a school in Hopley because of the low incomes of the people who are there. These are people who should deserve a right to education. So both the government and business are not willing to provide them education. But the community is prepared to build their own solidarity school. Why is government not giving them the opportunity, giving them the land to build their own school so that they can transform their own lives as a people? Because these are not a charity case. These are hardworking people who have proven to be resilient, who have proven to be resourceful in the past. So thank you so much. We have lost Comrade Masiwa, but we have to continue with this conversation in a future podcast where we want to extensively tackle the issue of inclusive access to quality education. And we are saying, if you are from a community, organize a community and invite us to also discuss what are the challenges that you are facing in your community and find ways on how we can work together to improve access to quality education in those particular environments. Have a blessed week.